Hi, I'm Noah Vols, owner of Rhythm of Healing, and I'm leading this year's Spring Yoga and Ayurveda Cleanse. I'd like to talk to you today a little bit about the cleansing process and how it can be beneficial for you. So if you're finding this spring that you're affected by seasonal allergies, maybe your digestion is feeling heavy, you're feeling bloated, gassy, sluggish, tired after eating, maybe you're experiencing some fatigue, maybe you're having some skin rashes, any of these conditions can really be helped by a spring cleanse. So I'd like to talk to you a little bit about what takes place in the digestive system to warrant a spring cleanse and how that works. So the spring cleanse is really focused on enhancing our digestive strength. So many of us these days avoid hard to digest foods. Wheat, dairy, maybe meat, other things that are hard to digest. We're getting away from those foods because we don't have the digestive capacity. So the spring cleanse is aimed at enhancing our digestive capacity. I'm going to talk a little bit about how that happens. So we're really looking at how our body digests fats. Fats are very popular these days. Omega-3s, essential fatty acids, fish oils are highly recommended by most naturopathic doctors. So those can be really helpful if we digest them. So what can happen in the system to stop us from really being able to digest our fats is that fat is predominantly broken down by the bile that's secreted from the gallbladder. It breaks those fats down into soluble parts. So, in addition to that, many of the cancer-causing chemicals, dioxin, PCBs, are also fat soluble, so the bile is responsible for breaking those down initially as well. Once those are broken down, they go into the small intestine, and it's the villi in the small intestine that bring the fats into the lymphatic circulation. So the gut-associated lymphatic tissue around the guts draws those fat-soluble molecules into lymphatic circulation, and then they're brought into the body and utilized in the way that's going to be best for our specific body. So if those fats are not broken down correctly, then they compress the villi, they widen the cell junctions in the small intestine, and that's what's called leaky gut syndrome. And so then these large molecules of fat that aren't fully digested go into circulation, stagnate the lymphatic tissue. Then the different cancer-causing chemicals, fat-soluble toxins also go into lymphatic circulation. The white blood cells in the lymph are used to basically neutralize those fats. If there's so many of them, if they haven't been broken down efficiently by the bile, that can be really difficult for the system. So the bile, 90% of it at least, is then reabsorbed into the colon and brought back to the liver. So the lymph also, if it's not able to easily process all the fats, it then brings everything to the liver. The liver is the big detoxifying organ in the body. So if any of the other detoxification channels aren't working correctly, the liver becomes responsible. So the liver then becomes congested, becomes a little bit stagnant, and it's responsible for producing the bile. Thus the cycle begins. It produces a bile that's stagnant, thick, doesn't fully digest those fats, then they go into the small intestine and they're not fully absorbed. So before those fats go into the small intestine, they go into the common bile duct. So that's where the pancreas, the small intestine, and the gallbladder all meet. So the pancreas secretes different enzymes, mostly bicarbonate, that neutralizes the stomach acid. So if that's congested in there, if the common bile duct is congested because the bile is congested because the liver is stagnant, then the pancreatic enzymes don't buffer the stomach acid. The stomach acid ends up going into the small intestine with everything else. The small intestine and the colon send a signal to the stomach saying, wait up, it's too hot in here. The stomach acid is then depressed, so then again we don't digest things fully. So we're really trying to optimize the digestion of the system. That's what the spring cleanse facilitates, is health at each one of these steps. It's a 4-phase process that brings health to each one of the steps of digestion so we can have extremely excellent digestive capacity and then also good elimination. So if you'd like to enhance your digestion, please consider joining me and the rest of the group at this year's Yoga and Ayurveda Spring Cleanse. Thanks for joining me.